Hello, bibliophiles. My name is Megan, or Meg, and today we're talking about my most Can I speak? And today we are talking about my most anticipated releases of 2025 for winter and spring. I will do another video for fall and summer releases in the future, but for now we are going to be talking about the 12 books I'm looking forward to in these two seasons. First up, we have two graphic novels, the first of which is by Kay O'Neill. It is called A Song for You and I. Kay O'Neill is the author of the Tea Dragon Society, which I love. It's a very sweet graphic novel series for middle grade readers. This is also middle grade and also fantasy. It follows Rowan, who is a ranger, which means that they protect their town from danger. And one day their horse is injured, which means they have to stop and rest until their horse is healed. And they meet a sheep herder who is more content with a slower life than Rowan. And the two start to develop feelings for each other. And it's kind of like, will Rowan end up living a slower, more calm life, or will they go back to their ranger roots? And the second graphic novel is Kirby's Lessons for Falling in Love by Laura Gao. Laura wrote a graphic memoir called Messy Roots, which I love. I gave it 5 stars. So I'm very excited that she's making her fiction debut. Kirby is a rock climber who is forced to leave her rock climbing team at school when she has an injury. And to get some much needed extra credit, she joins the newspaper club. Her fellow student Bex recruits her to work on an astrology-based love advice column, which isn't really in Kirby's wheelhouse. Next we have our biggest section, which is queer romance. The first one is The Shots You Take by Rachel Reed, which comes out on March 4th as well. This is about two former hockey players who have since retired. They were on the same team and they had a friends with benefits situation. And now that they've reunited, they have a second chance at falling in love. That's really all I know about this one, but I really enjoyed, oh my god, what's it called? It's not coming to me. I really enjoyed their novel about two hockey players who fall for each other. I'll put it up on the screen because the name is just not coming to me. And I also read 2 of her books from her very popular Game Changers series. I thought Heated Rivalry was just okay, but its sequel, The Long Game, I thought was very good. So I'm intrigued to see what this one is like. Next up, we have Homegrown Magic by Jamie Paxton and Rebecca Potos. This comes out on March 11th, and I actually got an ARC of this through NetGalley, so I've already read it, and I can't recommend it highly enough. It is just so much fun, so sweet. Margot is a plant witch struggling to perfect a potion, which is her only chance of keeping her family home. If she doesn't perfect the potion, it'll be stolen out from under her by the wealthy Clonic family. Yale Clonic, meanwhile, dreads joining their family business and runs away from home after their graduation party. They end up in Bloomfield, where Margot lives, and it turns out that Margot and Yale were actually childhood best friends. And their friendship reignites, as well as some romance. Like all the romance on this list, you know they're gonna fall in love. I just loved this so much. It's a really cozy fantasy romance. It's queer normative. It's full of lush descriptions, really witty dialogue, great fleshed out characters. And as I said, I can't recommend it enough. It was one of my honorable mentions for 2024, in my top 10 video. And it easily could have made my top 10. I gave it 4.5 stars when I read it, but the more I think about it, I'm like, maybe that was 5 stars. Next up is A Gentleman's Gentleman by TJ Alexander. This also comes out on March 11th. This is a queer historical romance set in Regency England, in which a lord falls for his valet, or valet. I can never figure out how you're supposed to pronounce that word. And there's trans representation in this, which is very exciting because as I've read a lot of queer historical fiction and romance, and trans characters are few and far between. Lord Christopher Eden is notoriously eccentric. He prefers to live his life away from the town, away from prying eyes and ears. His life is upended when his late father's will says that he must marry a woman before the season ends in order to keep his family's fortune and estate. The only problem is that Christopher is not attracted to women. And of course his valet is gonna come join the picture, and they will fall in love. I actually got an arc of this for NetGalley as well. I haven't read it yet because I just got it recently, but I'm very excited. I thought T.J. Alexander's Christmas romance, Second Chances in Newport Stephen, was wonderful. Next up is Cover Story by Celia Lasky. This comes out on March 25th. It's set in 2005 and follows Allie, a publicist for Hollywood stars. She is tasked with helping a rising starlet keep her sexuality a secret. Of course, because this is a romance, they fall in love. I think this is interesting that it's set in 2005, because there are still, even till this day, stars who, you know, are closeted. But I guess it makes more sense because back then it was even more prevalent. Yeah, I don't know a lot about this. I was just like, sapphic romance set in Hollywood, okay. Because it's not really a hyperfixation of mine anymore, but I used to be very, very into like movies and like how Hollywood works and the film industry and like award shows and stuff like that. And the only romance I've read set in Hollywood was Stars in Your Eyes by Kacen Callender, and I loved it. So I'm like, I want to read more. Next up, we have If We Were a Movie by Zakiya and Jamal. This is a YA romance that follows Rochelle. To beef up her college application, she decides that she needs to get a job, and she chooses the Black-owned movie theater in her town. And it turns out that Amira, Rochelle's academic rival, also works at the movie theater and is in fact her boss. The two girls obviously realize that they have feelings for each other, and when mysterious things start happening that make its chances of staying open slim, Rochelle and Amira must work together to save the movie theater. Again, as I said, I used to be really into movies. I'd love to get back into them, and I worked at a movie theater in college, so I think this is such a fun setting. I've never read a book set in a movie theater. I just feel like there's so many like movie references you can make, and it just sounds really fun. I've been reading a lot less YA contemporary, but this one just sounds special because it's set in a movie theater. Next up, we have The Unlikely Pursuit of Mary Bennett by Minda McLeod. McLeod? M-I-C-L-E-O-D. McLeod, I think. And it comes out on April 29th. This is set in the world of Pride and Prejudice and follows Elizabeth's younger sister Mary and her best friend Charlotte, and follows them falling in love. And I love the idea that Mary and Charlotte are queer. I'm very familiar with the story of Pride and Prejudice, but I haven't read it yet. It is on my list of books to read in 2025, which is a video I posted recently if you want to go check it out. Just shameless self-plug. I personally love a classics retelling, and I love queer historical fiction. I love reading about this period. I just think it's so interesting to see how queer people existed in the past when being queer wasn't accepted at all. Next up, we have Kiss Me Maybe by Gabriela Gomez. This comes out May 6th, and it's part of a series called Librarians in Love, which I have never heard of. But you can read the books individually. You don't need to read them in order. And I am getting my MLIS, my Master's in Library and Information Science, and plan to be a librarian, so right up my alley. Anyway, the main character, Angela, who is a librarian, she ends up going viral online when she makes a video about her late bloomer identity and her ace identity. She decides that she's finally ready to kiss someone. She's never kissed anyone, and decides with her influencer status to make it like a challenge. She sets up a scavenger hunt in which the winner will get to be the person who she kisses for the first time. It sounds a little weird, but also like it could be really fun. Crystal, Angela's seemingly unregretted unrequited crush, agrees to help her with her scavenger hunt. Of course, say it with me, they fall in love. And then our final queer romance on this list is And They Were Roommates by Paige Powers. This one comes out on May 27th. It is a second chance romance, which I've realized lately that I quite like. And it follows Charlie, a trans boy who is just starting out at a all-boys boarding school. And his roommate just happens to be Jasper, the boy who broke his heart before he transitioned. Jasper doesn't recognize Charlie and recruits him to help him with his love letter writing campaign. Basically, Jasper writes love letters on behalf of other students at the school, and for whatever reason, he decides that Charlie is going to help him. And if Charlie helps him, he has a shot of getting his own room and not having to share with Jasper. The letter writing, of course, stirs up romantic feelings between the two boys. I haven't read Paige Powers' first novel, The Boyfriend Project, I think is what it's called, even though I heard it was quite good. As I said, I've been reading fewer and fewer YA contemporaries, so it takes something like really special to get me to want to read one, and this one just sounds really fun. And I'm just like always here for some more trans rep. We have our last category, which is mystery, thriller, and horror. Horror. I have trouble pronouncing that. Horror. Horror. H-O-R-R-O-R. Horror. The first book is This Book Will Bury Me by Ashley Winstead. 3 college women have recently been murdered, and a true crime-obsessed woman named Jane and her friends decide to try to solve the murder before the police. Ashley Winstead is the author of my favorite mystery thriller of all time, In My Dreams I Hold a Knife, so I have quite high expectations for this one. I'm hoping that this has like some interesting commentary on the true crime, because there's been a lot of interesting discussions lately about if true crime is ethical, like the consumption of other people's pain and trauma. So I hope that this explores that. Finally, we have our 12th and final book, How to Survive a Slasher by Justine Pichello-Winans. This one comes out on March 11th. Justine is the author of Bianca Torre is Afraid of Everything, which was one of my top 10 books of last year. It was just a really fun, campy murder mystery, and I'm wondering if this will be campy or a little bit more, like, intense. I'm not sure yet. But it follows CJ, whose hometown of Satterville is known as Slasherville, because 2 slashers have taken place there. CJ's father survived the first attack, but only CJ survived the second. And thanks to the mysterious writer Moon Satter, the town's infamous slashers have stayed front page news. Then a new, unpublished Moon Satter novel shows up at CJ's house. Unlike the other novels, this isn't about Satterville's past, it is about its future. It predicts new murders, and CJ and her friends have to work together in order to prevent them. I hope that it's fun. I'm not like a horror reader. I've read like maybe 1 or 2 in my entire life, so this will be a first for me, but I really liked Bianca Torre. So yes, those were my 12 anticipated reads for winter and spring 2025. Thank you for watching. If you could give me a like and a comment, that would be great. You can also subscribe if you want to see more videos from me. I have some links in the description, like to my Bookstagram, my Goodreads, my Storygraph. Thank you, and I'll see you real soon. Bye.